video 7 of my maths revision series, and this one is focusing on just algebra questions. These are all algebra questions which came up on paper 1 last year in 2025. So even if that's gone by now and you're watching this at a much later date, it'll still be useful revision because all of these topics do kind of come up on exams all the time. So here are all the questions. I'd suggest you pause the video if you want to have a go at them. And in a second, I'm about to reveal the answers, and then eventually I'll talk through each one. Remember again, if you're watching on a small screen, you can pinch to zoom in. And if there's any particular question you want featuring, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just keep revising random questions. But this one is just focused on algebra because that's what someone has asked for. So I'm about to reveal the answers. If you don't want to see the answers, just pause the video now. On the first question, you should have x to the power of 5. Question 2 is 6y to the power of 5. Question 3, p is 30. That's a 2-mark question, and the last one was 2 marks as well. Question 4 is 58 meters per second, 2-mark question. Question 5, t equals 8, again 2 marks. Question 6, the first one was A, and the second one was E. Question 7, you need x is greater than or equal to minus 2. I'm sorry, that last question, question 6, was 2 marks, so it's 1 mark for each. And this one's a 2-mark question, so you'll get 1 mark for just getting minus 2. And the second mark for having the correct inequality symbol. And then finally, question 8 is a 3-mark question, quite a tricky one. Definitely like a grade 3 or above topic, this one. So final answer is y equals 4x plus 7. Right, I'm going to talk through how you do all those problems now if you didn't know how to do them. So on the first one, simply x to the power of 5 because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. So that is just x to the power of 5. On question 2, to simplify this, well, 2y means 2 times y. And 3y to the power of 4 means 3 times y times y times y times y 4 times. So in total, I mean, all these are multiplied, doesn't matter what order we attack it in. 2 times 3 makes the 6, and then if we count how many y's we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that gives us the 6y to the power of 5. On question 3, to solve the equation, it's a 2-step equation, so you'll get 2 marks for this one. First thing we need to do is get rid of this take away 7. You might think about what we've done to p, so it's been times by 4, take away 7. Working backwards, we need to add 7 and then divide by 4. So getting rid of this takeaway 7, we're going to add 7 to both sides of the equal sign. Adding 7 to this bit, the minus 7 will just disappear, so left with 4p. And adding 7 to this bit, we get 120. To get the final answer, well, we've got 4p and we want 1p. So we're going to divide by 4. 12 divided by 4 makes 3, so 120 divided by 4 makes 30. And that's where your final answer of 30 comes from. Question 4, we're going to use this formula to find the final velocity given some certain conditions. So the formula is v equals u plus at. Now, I'll just say what each letter in that means first of all, because if you've not covered that a lot, you might not know exactly what each letter is. So v is the final velocity, and that's what it's asked us to find out. U is the initial velocity, and that's given in the question. A is the acceleration given in the question, and t is the time given in the question. Notice here that a and t are next to each other, so that means they're multiplied together, and we must do the multiply before we do the add. So, subbing in what we've got then, u, the initial velocity was 10 meters per second, the acceleration is 6, and we need to times that by the time, which was 8. So we do have to do the times first in this one. 6 times 8 makes 48, and then adding another 10 on gives us that 58, and that's where 58 comes from. It's a 2-mark question, so you'll get 1 mark for your final answer and 1 mark for your working out. Question 5 says to use the formula a equals a half tp to find the value of t when a is 40 and p is 10. The final answer is going to be 8. Well, let's talk about how we do that then. So starting with the formula from the question, it says to find the value of t, so we want to find t over here, when a is 40 and p is 10. So let's, firstly, so tp, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. So tp means t times p, doesn't it? All of these things in this equation over here multiply together because they're next to each other. Okay, now let's swap a for 40, and we also know that p is 10. Now to simplify this, on this side I've got a half times 10 because we can do these in any order, can't we? And half of 10 is 5. So basically I'm doing 5 times something makes 40. You might know that something is 8. Technically, to solve this equation, get t on its own, we need to get rid of this times by 5. So divided by 5, we're just left with t over on this side, and on the other side 40 divided by 5 is 8. So final answer t equals 8. That's a 2-mark question, so 1 mark for your working out, and again 1 mark for your final answer. On question 6, you had to match the graphs with their equations. So graph A has to be x equals 6 because it goes through the x-axis. It's a vertical line, so it's going to be x equals something. The only one that is x equals something is A, so it has to be A. And both these questions are on types of graph. If you want to revise these, the types of graph that you need to know for GCSE. Part E is a reciprocal graph. We did explore reciprocal graphs in video 5, so feel free to go watch video 5 if you want to practice another question like this. This one is definitely a reciprocal graph because it doesn't touch the axes and it's got the curve on both the positive part and the negative part. And you have to remember, for a graph that looks like this, it's got to be reciprocal, and reciprocal just means divide. So we've got the variable, the letter on the bottom. That's why it has to be a reciprocal graph. Okay. Question 7 says to write down the inequalities shown on the number line. So I can see it's pointing this way. It's going to be all the numbers bigger than -2. And because it's a filled in circle on -2, that means -2 is included. So it's all the numbers bigger than or equal to -2. So as an inequality, it does say this one was x. So it has to be x is greater than or equal to. And it's greater than or equal to -2 in this one. That's a 2-mark question. So you will get 1 mark for firstly the inequality symbol pointing the right way, and the second mark for having the right inequality symbol and the right number as well, the full correct answer. Right, question 8 is quite a tricky one. It says a straight line is parallel to y equals 4x and passes through the point 513. Find the equation of the line in the form y equals mx plus c. So firstly, if it's parallel, it must have the same gradient and steepness. You might know, well, I'm hoping you know already, that using y equals mx plus c, the gradient of this line is 4 because there are 4 x's. So a parallel line has to have a gradient of 4 as well. So if we start with, y equals 4x plus c, because it's got to have the same gradient to make it have a steepness of 4. Now we need to make that line go through the point 513. So we've got the x and the y value. X is 5 and y is 13. So I'm going to replace y with 13 and replace x with 5. So I've replaced y with 13 there and replace x with 5. We can simplify this now. 4 times 5 makes 20. So we've got 20 add something makes 13. Well, that clearly has to be a negative number because the answer's got smaller. And you might know that number is 7. Technically, if we're solving this equation, we want to get c on its own. So we're getting rid of this plus 20. We're going to take away 20 from both sides. You get c equals -7. So we found the y-intercept of this line is -7. So if we go back to writing y equals mx plus c, that's the general equation of a straight line. M is the gradient. We know from the question it has to be 4x to make it parallel. And we've just found that the y-intercept c is -7. So we're going to replace c with -7 there. We get y equals 4x plus -7. And whenever you're adding a negative, it is the same as just taking away. So the final answer, y equals 4x minus 7. That is a 3-mark question because it's quite lengthy. If you want to practice that, it's equations of parallel lines that go through a certain point. Quite a tricky thing. So again, if you want any certain question repeating in a future video, please let me know. Otherwise, I hope this was useful, and fingers crossed I'll see you again soon for another video. Thank you for watching.